ועכשיו אני רוצה לקרוא לדובר הבא שלנו, דוקטור מיכאל סובולב. מיכאל בוגר הטכניון, סיים פוסט-דוקטורט בקורנל טק. מיכאל מומחה בתחום Behavioral Economics ומובייל הלס, וחוקר התנהגות בסיזר סיני. מיכאל נחת בארץ רק בסוף שבוע האחרון, אז קודם כל תודה מיכאל שבאת אלינו מרחוק, ואנחנו מקוות שכבר התאוששת מהג'טלג. בערך. מיכאל מבין עברית, אבל את ההרצאה שלו הוא יעביר באנגלית, סליחה.
אוקיי, טוב, אני אגיד משפט בעברית, אני מאוד שמח להיות פה ובישראל, אני אמנם באתי מעבר לים, אבל ישראל זה המקום שבו כלכלה התנהגותית נולדה, וגם הסטארט-אפ ניישן, אז אין מקום יותר מושלם מזה לעשות את המיטאפ הזה, ועכשיו אני אחליף לאנגלית. Okay, so thank you, Talia and Adi, for organizing, and thank you the two speakers that already set up all the stage for me, so I don't have to do all the work. My talk is going to be about technology. All my research is focused on how can we use the iPhone that changed our life 15 years ago, change how we make decisions, change how we consume information. Also, can we use it to make us healthier? The opportunities and the challenges of doing that. That's my talk. I've been for a few years in the US. I spent time at Cornell Tech, actually launching a lot of different digital mobile health startups by teaching them the lessons I'm going to teach you today. And I then traveled for the two different healthcare systems, Northwell Health in New York, and now in Cedar Sinai in Los Angeles, continue doing this work. So mobile health, there's no doubt that all the devices we have right now, the mobile phones, the mobile apps, the wearable devices, can really have a potential to change our behavior, change our lives. They can help us track our sleep and improve our sleep if we follow the recommendations. I don't know, depends. It can help us track our physical activity, design much more adaptive, personalized, timely information than ever before, using these devices in the moment, as opposed to what we had before, which was going to the provider gives you a set of recommendations, lets you on his way, on your or her way, and then you probably don't do anything about that. Besides behavior change, there's also a revolution in mobile health, like medical collection of data. Apps allow us to collect data we never could collect before on patients in clinical trials, in practice. Sometimes they're called digital measures, sometimes called digital biomarkers. They come from wearable devices, they come from mobile phones, and it also really transforms how we do research. In practice, there are now more than 500,000 health apps you can download in the App Store, if you can even find them. And I think there's 100K new apps added every year in the last few years, more than ever. So how are we doing? Let's say you download a health app. This is the Headspace. Who knows about the app Headspace? See, 50% or maybe 40%. Headspace is the most popular, at least in the US. I think there were some billboards in Israel. I've been told the most popular stress management, breathing exercises, mindfulness, whatever you're gonna call it, app. And it designed you to manage the stress. If you have, before that, actually, when it just started 5 years ago, we didn't know if it's effective. They didn't really run their own trials, as far as I know. But now there are recent papers showing that they actually are effective in most of the clinical outcomes we care about. That's one. It's also the most popular health app on the App Store. It has 10 million downloads a year. I wonder how they're doing. Let's see. I'll ask you to predict how they're doing. So let's say everybody in this room, you have 200 people, download the app. After 7 days, what's your prediction? How many of you still use the app? Who says, by raise of hand, who says 70%? Not a brave soul, okay? 50%. Okay, some optimistic people, 3 30%? Sounds right, right? Raise your hand. It's 30% probably. Okay, that's like maybe 25 people, 10%. This audience is too good. Okay. On the second question, there's not much more to go from here, but who says it's 5% after 30 days? Okay, now everyone agrees. That's exactly right. So imagine that's the best app we have. It's the best design. All the users that use Headspace, if you do a survey, if you're a user experience researcher, you do a survey, you get 4.95 out of 5 on experience. It helps me. I'm going to recommend it to my friends. I'm going to keep using it forever. But what we actually see is very different. Well, there's a disengagement curve and there's different research on that, but I'm not saying it's different. But I think it's more extreme with technology, and we can write a paper about that, no problem. And it's not only unique to Headspace; it's unique to physical activity apps or nutrition tracking apps. The data I'm going to show you specifically for mental health apps, because one of my friends did this research. This is how the engagement curve looks like. As you saw, after 7 days, it's 10% or even less. After 30 days, I was generous. I said 5%, but it's somewhere between 0 and 5 at the very best. That's very low. I think you can agree. And it's not only gym memberships. We have a problem with disengagement from wearable devices. I believe in wearable devices. True that 5 years ago, Fitbits were pretty bad. Nobody really wanted to wear them, but they got better. Apple Watch now, what's the biggest watch company in the world? It's Apple. And by far, Apple Watches are actually popular, but still you have disengagement, battery usage, you stop using it. Especially if you buy Apple Watch to be more physically active, there's no real chance that you're going to use it. But the users that do use it is because they are married to the Apple ecosystem, just like me. The nudge apps, what kind of?
Step count, which is kind of nudging, that every once in a while says, hey, today you did this number of steps. Yesterday you did more and stuff.
Yeah, well, it does. What's the name of the app? Yeah.
Every once in a while they get might be pop enough, just walk around the room.
Oh. That's good. No, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic, and we'll get to that. But it also, again, it used to be that we just had 10,000 steps and that's it. But now we're getting better. The Apple Watch is getting better in personalizing. The Apple Watch is getting better. The Fitbits are getting better. The interventions are now more adaptive, more personalized. There's, for example, the Nike app, which does also a very good job of trying to really measure as much as about the person before they do an intervention for physical activity. So what can we do about that? And you revealed some of the questions already and some of the answers in the previous talks. By the way, before I even get into my solutions, the best thing you can do about engagement, you know what? It's actually what Clalit does. The best engagement you get is when your provider recommends you to do something. When you download Headspace yourself, you're not going to use it, but maybe when your general practitioner is going to tell you use Headspace, it's a different story. When your doctor looks at your step count, is a different story. And systems that actually connect this data and providers to patients have much better chances of engagement. I think it's like 40-fold engagement when the provider recommends it compared to whether you download it yourself. Well, we had a reward startup that failed, but I think it's still a good idea and we might do it better. And Clalit has an app that does that. I believe in rewards. Wait, Yeah, well, you said it's a myth. That's actually not a bad solution to people like to save money, especially on insurance, especially in the US. Often, I can tell you from being in some wellness programs in the US, often it's just not enough. You know, if I do these 12 things, then I get 5,000 points, and this 5,000 points, it's actually like $10, and it's not worth it. You really have to pay enough or not pay at all. That's another thing that we don't learn in behavioral science. I feel like these solutions often don't do enough. Rewards are important, but you cannot just do coins and that don't work much. But you kind of revealed some of it already. But one of the solutions is behavioral design, is using nudging, but not only nudging on a population level, is this individual nudging. Look, what is the behavior I want to encourage? What are the pain points? What are the bottlenecks of this patient or user, and how can we nudge them, personalize nudges for them? Go through the whole process of design. It's a real design process. It's not a scientific process. It's a design process. And when they're doing well, then reward them. When they're not doing well, do something else. What else can you do? The other tool that I use is randomized trials, but not randomized trials that Adi presented to you, not randomized trials that say what is the best message across the population, or a randomized trial that says, is Headspace effective in reducing stress, or is Headspace better than their competitor, Calm? It's a randomized trial that look on the individual, that look to personalize. For example, and I'm going to relate to the example from Adi and the Clalit team, is what do you do after you send one message and then it doesn't respond? Can you send a different message? You can design a trial that looks at the response of the individual and not end there, and then sequentially assign different interventions until you design an adaptive intervention that works better than just choosing one message that works the best. Because I also don't believe it's going to work in the long term. One solution for that, sequential assignment, make it adaptive, and don't just randomize, find the right order. That's what we call a sequential assignment randomized trial that look to optimize an intervention, optimize text messaging, optimize Headspace, the right time to send notification, how many notifications, as opposed to just saying, does Headspace work as it is? That's my expertise, and that's what I'm doing in most of the solutions. But we talk a lot about Headspace. Of course, Headspace, they're not, it's not like they don't know about that they have a huge behavioral science team, and even growing, and they have notifications, but the question is, are these notifications enough? I have a personal experience with a similar app called Calm, which are the main competitor of Headspace. In the beginning of 2020 pandemic, because I'm an American Express user, they send me, oh, we offer Calm for free. We understand everyone are stressed right now. It usually costs $150 or something to use the subscription, but now you're going to use it for free. It's like, oh, this is amazing. I'm stressed. I just had a baby, COVID pandemic. I'm about to lose my job. I'm going to use Calm right now. I installed the app. I never open it for 365 days. I get notification every day at 9 p.m. that says, I forgot the exact text, but something like, calm yourself now. So the first few days I was like, yeah, I downloaded it yesterday. I want to do it. Maybe tomorrow. Today is not a bad day. And the next day I say maybe tomorrow. And after a few days, I'm getting used to it. And I just dismiss the notification without thinking about it at all, not even considering opening the app anymore. And by the end of this year, I was already prepared for the notification to arrive at 9 p.m. And I was like, I'm just going to dismiss it in a second. It comes and I dismiss it, and that's it. They gave me the subscription for free, but unfortunately, I didn't do much for it. We actually have research in behavioral economics showing that at least when you invest, you have some skin in the game, you're more likely to go to the gym. They gave it to me for free, and I wish they would give me the data. I think no one used it, like at all. But that's just my hypothesis. If you work for Calm, let me know. So the main question I'm asking him, the research question is, could have they done better than sending me the same notification with the same text? 9 p.m. Already Khalid showed you they probably could have done better. But again, it's the number of notifications. Do you change the text? Do you try to engage me in some other way? That's what I'm trying to do. We designed for Headspace, we designed like a proof of concept that does something similar. Headspace, again, an effective app that people like, but nobody actually uses. Can we engage? Can we design reminders to engage people with Headspace? Can we help people actually achieve their goals? They want to use it, they just don't. That's what we call, a just-in-time adaptive intervention, trying to figure out when to notify people, the right number of notifications. And we're just getting started with this project, but we run a small trial, trying to estimate another type of trial that I want to show you. It's called the micro-randomized trial, in which we, instead of, again, looking at Headspace compared to something else or randomized individual, we randomize days. We look, what's the effect of a notification? What's the effect of the reminder? So every day you either get a notification or not, and that's random. Another thing we do in this trial, and that's the design part, this doesn't work. We ask to users to actually specify a time frame in which notifications for them work. I was a parent. 9 p.m. for me is not a good time for notifications. It's not a good time for me to do mindfulness. Maybe a different time works for me. If you're a student, you have no family, evenings might be better for you. You have to do something about that. One simple way is just to ask. And then within this 3 hours time window, we deliver notifications. And then we test whether those notifications are effective on Headspace engagement. And at least in this small trial over 30 days, we saw that engagement with simple notifications we designed increased from 9 to 9.5 minutes compared to 4.5 minutes on days without notifications. I'll give you just one more example, and was that there were so many questions already about that. And Khalid talked about medication adherence. It's another example. I think there's an interesting combination of behavior economics and technology, and that's apps that use rewards as the primary mechanism to encourage medication adherence, which only 50% of patients take their medication as prescribed. You can use technology to remind them, but you also can use behavior economics. You can use rewards to make them actually follow up and on their intentions to be healthy. One company is AIQ, and in this app, you have to take the medication with a video that actually shows you to actually take it, because compliance is a big issue. They mostly work with clinical trials. We work with them on some trials as well. And another company that I worked with called Wealth, based in New York, also does pretty much the same, but in this case, you don't take a video. It's not as complicated. It's not as bothersome. You just take a picture of your medications. Actually, it's almost a cautionary tale, because at least in serious mental illness patients, we found that this complex intervention that we take photos, we pay people to take their medications, did one thing, and this one thing, it increased engagement. And engagement is super important, I already told you, but it actually didn't increase adherence. When we looked at the photos patients actually took, the gap between engagement and adherence was just cheating. And I don't know if it's unique to serious mental illness, and they have other trials. I don't want to say that they don't work. They have other trials that show effective results. But at least in our case, we found this something interesting, at least, that engagement increases. People take the photos every day, but adherence to medications is still the same. My final point, my first point in this research is that if you want to design mobile health technology, we have to take behavioral science seriously. I think every digital health startup should have a behavioral scientist on board. If you run one, make sure you have one. The second one is mostly for this community, is that I think we can reach the next frontier by combining behavioral science with data science. Data science can help us predict behavior better, can help us personalize behavior better, can help us optimize our interventions better, and that's super important. Behavioral science is important, but data science and behavioral science is where it goes. I think it's the same. Hopefully all of you agree. There's going to be a question and panel about recommendation systems. I envision that as a very well-oiled recommendation system that can start as a rule-based in the beginning, can be personalized, we can ask the users what they want, but as they go along in the process, it's more and more data-driven. I think that's the future. Before I go, my workplace made me put this slide on. We're the best hospital in California, but we also do a lot of interesting things that I didn't have time to tell you about. Alcohol reduction interventions, both screening, text messages, optimized smoking cessation intervention in LA that uses wearable devices, apps, and other things, and also population level studies with wearables for physical activity. We're trying to make LA super healthy before the 2028 Olympic. It's one of our biggest projects. So if you want to learn more about any of these things, come talk to me, email me. It was a great pleasure talking here, and thank you.
אני אחזור לעברית, אבל אנחנו מכירים כבר הרבה שנים, ולהיות באותה יבשת מיכאל זה תמיד תענוג, וכיף לשמוע אותך. אוקיי. אז אחד הדברים המעניינים בעיניי בשיחה של מיכאל, זה שבעצם הוא הביא את המובייל הלס, ואת ההזדמנויות באפליקציות, ומה שאפשר לעשות גם בהן. ואפליקציות בסופו של דבר זה חלק אינטגרלי מהחיים שלנו, והן סופר חשובות כשזה מגיע לבריאות. ויש הרבה אספקטים שהם יכולים להיות בהן. אחד הדברים הבעיקר מעניינים בעיניי זה כשזה מגיע לניהול של מחלה, וספציפית בניהול של מחלה כרונית. אז השיחה הבאה שלנו ככה בהרמה לבולה, אמרתי את המונח הזה נכון בהקשר של... יש לי תיעוד גם של זה, נכון? אחלה. אז... די, אל תתקטנן, נו, הכנסתי את המשפט הזה, זה היה במקום, היה מונדיאל השנה, אני את שלי עשיתי. סתם.